Today, I point out a computer screen. I put that basket weaving mirror badge to good use. And I finally get to fly a flamethrower. I'm here this morning in Statesville, very sore, at a kind of nondescript warehouse, which has hot air balloons inside of it. This is Firefly balloons. I didn't want to get weird with it, but there we go. They hooked me up. I got 3 colors of fabric. They gave me an old pilot light valve to use as a new blast valve, some old hose but we are all set up. Thank you, Firefly. So if you remember that indoor RC balloon that I made just recently, really, this is actually the same shape. So this is the indoor RC balloon envelope, and I basically just sized it up about double. So this is 1,000 cubic feet, and I guess this is the first time you're seeing it. This is the color scheme I'm going with. So I've got royal blue and orange and yellow. After making the shape, I flatten out all of these sections and we get our gore patterns here. So this is one strip of 14 yards of fabric. So I ran down the length of every one of these called stations, station 0 all the way to, I believe it's 16 on this envelope. And I took the measurements, and those are the measurements all on the side, printed them out, and now we get to go build the thing. Right, so according to my sheet here, at the equator, the widest part of the balloon, the template needs to be 20 1/16 of an inch wide, and this is 26 inches wide, and that's half of a gore. So I'm gonna have to do this twice. I'm gonna roll out this paper, and then I'm going to mark 1/2 of it, cut it to shape, and then put it back on top of the paper, trace it out again, cut that to shape, and then we'll have one entire gore, and then I need 12 of those. 6 out of blue and 3 out of orange and then 3 out of yellow. So here goes nothing. So I'm going to go down this edge and using my paper at each station length, then use my square to get depth or the width of that station link, mark it with the Sharpies that I just bought, cut it out, do it again. Okay, I've taken the template and I've laid it over on top of the paper again with a 2-inch margin. I'm going to tape them together. And you didn't really come here to see me cut out paper, so this is after tracing out the second half of the template, taping them together. Now I'm laying them on top of the fabric and tracing them onto the fabric for cutting. Okay, so now that the marking is done, it's time to cut. I've placed marks along the fabric. You can't see because this is blue and this is a terrible idea and I should be doing it on like a yellow, but I've placed marks where important things happen, like the parachute centering line, the vent stabilization line, the equator, that kind of thing. So I will be marking them in Sharpie and then cutting. So the cutting is actually pretty slow and hard to do without proper tension on the fabric. This double silicone fabric causes the scissors to kind of slide all over the place, so it's very slow going actually. After that we just sew gores together. So this is a single stitch because it's a relatively small balloon. We're running 1 stitch per gore seam, and that will be on the inside of the envelope so you won't actually see the sewing. I've got 4 more pieces of fabric and 8/12 of a hot air balloon. Each gore is a little over 18 feet long,
which lands somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 feet of fabric, including the skirt, which I will get to later on. Here I am sewing load tapes at the top of the balloon, and parachute, it's called a spider. It's the set of lines that keep the parachute from bulging out at the top.
You know, there's something really profound about doing this. I don't know, it's something about bringing something into the world out of a whole lot of little nothings, and like not having tangible results until almost the very end. Like, Jesus, I must have done, I don't know, probably like 30 hours so far of laying out and measuring and designing and then cutting and now sewing, and like only now am I about to really have something to show for it. And even once I finish this stage, there's still a lot more to do to actually make it. Like, the final product is still a long ways off. But you know I'm about to inflate this because this is going to be super gratifying. Yeah, looks like a balloon. So I've got a lot of things to do, mostly on the top end actually. But I do have to sew in a spot for the vent line to go at the top. Obviously, the parachute requires attention. Here's the top of the balloon. Now, actually getting it centered is going to be quite tricky, so I don't know. Guess and check. Let's do it. Okay, as the circle may clue you into, I am making the parachute now. I'm going to do it out of yellow because it's easy to draw on and easy to see when I cut it, and it's late, so let's knock this out real quick.
Once again, very slow going on the cutting. This fabric is still really hard to cut, even when we're doing something this small. So it's a 12 gore balloon. I've got 12 attachment lines. I need 12 points to attach the parachute. I have folded the parachute in half and then in thirds, and now we sew up a line that goes around the parachute as well as the ropes themselves to attach the parachute to the envelope. There's those lines getting attached to the envelope. Those are parachute centering lines. They're going to keep the parachute centered in the hole. And you can see, even without the little spider on the outside, that seals up pretty well and causes the balloon to inflate quite nicely, even on low fan power.
Okay, so will this work correctly? Don't know. We'll find out. We've got these still exaggeratedly long, is that a word? Parachute centering lines. The parachute is bulging out. I do not have a spider at the top. That's the last thing for me to do. But I've got a vent, so that goes to this ring, which, when pulled, pulls on the top, and that keeps the vent line out of the way of the flame, which is kind of important.
Now we're doing the external parachute. I call them spider lines. It's a crisscross that keeps the parachute from flying out of the hole, basically, and it ties the top of the balloon together.
Behold, parachute top. It is 1 a.m. and I'm gonna go home. But that sure looks like a balloon to me.
And here I am making the bag for the envelope. This is actually the very last thing I did, but it's part of the sewing, so I figured I'd put it in this section. This fabric was called Monk's fabric. I got it at Hobby Lobby. It's kind of tricky because the edges just fall apart, so you have to sew the edges first and then sew the pieces together. I've got a circular bottom, and I have a single panel side that wraps all the way around it. Here I'm sewing on load tapes for that to actually hold weight. I don't trust the fabric to not just fall apart. And small holes around the edge here that I'll actually run a rope through. And this rope is what's going to close up the top of the bag and keep the balloon inside of it, just like the real bag. I based the size of this off of the trash bag that I was previously keeping the balloon in, and it fits great. Now onto the burner. Couple of little sections here, but this is the main piece de resistance. It's the blast valve. This came from Firefly, and it's basically just a pilot light valve. Here I'm using blue Loctite, which works well as Loctite, but it also keeps a pretty decent seal, I found. Here's the bottom of the basket. This is birch plywood, and I'm making the corners based on the radius of the tanks that I'm using, and just cutting it out. And then the uprights. I'm actually making the uprights out of PVC because it's hollow, it's light, and it's easy to bend with heat. So I am attaching the bottom of caps to the floor, and here I am bending the PVC to shape. The wicker that goes on the side was also supplied by Firefly. This is a vertical weave, just like Firefly uses. I think it came from a tiki bar front or something. Anyways, we're wood gluing it on to the base and then stapling as well to help hold it while that glue dries. The real trick is hiding the seam, so I'm threading in pieces of wicker to bridge the gap between left and right halves. And then we just glue on some little pine runners here. Then we cut out the wicker to shape. It's little humps on the corners, just like the real thing. Now we have to shape the corner. It's actually slightly concave, so I've got my glove there. You wet the wicker, hold it in place, and then dry it, and it holds that shape. Same thing for the size of the balloon, because this was rolled up, so flattening that out. Now I'm making some upright covers out of leather, and those just get woven on with some small paracord. Same thing with the base of the balloon, all of the trim. This is all suede leather from Firefly, and it's all going to be woven on with this thinner paracord that I got at Hobby Lobby. Here's the upper trim. This one was really hard. I wanted to make it padded, but that was going to be even more difficult. This was hard to follow the slopes of the edges of the basket. And then the suspension pin, those go into the upright and helps hold the upright together. And holes through the floor so that the suspension ropes can go through the floor and up to those pins. And of course, if I'm going this far, I might as well make the bottom realistic with a metal plate that holds all of the suspension ropes together, just like the real thing. Good morning. I am here suffering. As always, I try a bunch of workaround things to solutions that I know are proven and exist, and none of those workarounds work, so I end up using the solution that's proven to work and already exist. So, no coil anymore. That tip I got from Luke, if you're watching. Thanks for the heads up. But it was a coil. For whatever reason, coil in miniature scale does not work well. I actually lost power. So this is just straight liquid. It goes up, goes in, and straight liquid. This is, yes, a soup can with holes. I don't know of an easier way to get a can-shaped can. And then we have a separate vapor pilot light. This is a 14-ounce tank instead of the normal 16-ounce tank. It does mean I can carry less fuel, but hopefully it stays lit. So that's kind of a prerequisite for a pilot light. The servo down here, this one's probably overkill. It's the EcoPower WP120T. Got that at the hobby store. That pushes like 20 kilos of force on the blast valve, which does not need to move very far. It's actually a Traxxas steering link. And then I made this itty bitty little pouch down here. It's just leather with sides stitched up. It's got a battery in it. It's got the receiver in it. And the transmitter is trigger type for an RC car. Plugged in, voila. That's it. On, off, on, off.
should be pretty straightforward. So, separate vapor, no coil, electronics installed. Oh, I made handles. I made the little grab handles, just like Firefly. So let's see if this thing works now. I need a smaller fan. Okay, quick walk around since I'm almost out of gas. Behold, hot air balloon. I've got more fuel, I've got more time, but I need to shorten these lines just a little bit. See how they're at an outward angle? So if I shorten them just a little bit, it'll bring the basket up. But yeah, check out this deflation. Cool. So let me shorten these lines up and we'll inflate it one more time, and that'll be a success. At the moment, I'm trying to shorten these lines, get them dialed in. That's the idea. Okay, so I could have made the parachute bigger, I guess. Ooh, it's toasty.
And after that flight, I've got the suspension lines the correct shape, so now I can make the skirt. This is just an extension of the bottom of the gore pattern. This is made out of Nomex, so I've got actually 2 panels per gore, so this is 24 pieces of fabric with a load tape sewn around the bottom, and those little loops, which are the spot you can attach the ropes, the suspension lines from the envelope when you're not using them when it's in transport, so they don't get tangled up. So we open up the balloon and stuff this guy in here. I've got sewn in pieces of rope, and those pieces of rope attached to a sewn in tab that's about 6 inches up into the mouth of the balloon, and that holds the skirt in place. And of course I've got to sew on the Firefly balloon logo. And I've now switched to my phone because I forgot the GoPro at work. I'm inflating again, now with a skirt. Doesn't look like much, but the skirt here is Nomex, and because the opening of my balloon is very small, hopefully the fireproofness of the Nomex will keep it from melting. I am fairly proud of the skirt. You can see in there it actually goes in between the suspension lines and attaches inside the envelope further up. That's how Firefly does it. And if they're giving me all this material, I'm going to try to make it as Firefly-ish as possible. Let's see if I can get this thing stood up. The real question is whether or not the skirt is the correct shape, and whether or not it pinches all the suspension lines. So, is it the right shape? Yes, close enough, frankly. You know, I averaged the width between here, so some places are a little baggy, some places are a little stretched, but overall, for most of it, seems like, yes, it is the correct shape. You know, it's protection, so it might not look the best in some areas, but beats catching things on fire. You can see it goes up into the mouth there. Yeah, a little wrinkly up in the mouth, but again, that's fine. It just means I can now trim all these lines to length, and there's also lines up there on the suspension side of the hair. Maybe you can see them. I can trim all that down to length now because I've got a working balloon basket. Back inside for hopefully what is the last time. Shortening up these lines, trimming the excess. I got a ton of excess to trim down at the bottom, but oh yeah, that's tight. Yeah, that's it. That's the balloon. I'll make some merch about it. You should visit my merch store, stickermule.com/Avery Flies. And there goes the fan. Really is a neat way to support me if you like what I do and get some cool stuff. But anyways, yeah, that's it. That's the video. You know, likes, comments, subscribes, all that jazz down below. That's tight. If you're going to be in the greater Statesville area during these dates in October, then you can come see me. I will have this at Carolina Balloon Fest, which is at the Statesville Airport proper. Yeah, come out and say hi. If I've got stickers made by then, I'll have stickers to give out. If you know the secret password, which is lickety split. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this. The vent like leaks the entire time because it's got these lines are too tight, and so it's got a crap seal.
But even with that, I'm still getting like 15 minutes of flight on what is honestly a very heavy system. I kind of went crazy with the scale realism. So most of my balloons in the past have not even bothered with a vent mechanism because most of my balloons in the past have been relatively small. This is the largest balloon I've made yet, and it is still pretty small by RC balloon standards. This is just over 1,000 cubic feet. Most people are making them in the 2,000 to 3,000 cubic feet range. So this one's still a pipsqueak, and I'm running 3 propane tanks, which is a lot actually. And the basket got very scale realistic, right? So I got a birch floor, and I did leather trim, and so it's yeah, it's a bit much. So to be honest, I was kind of worried that this wouldn't fly with 3 tanks, but it does. And even with a leaking parachute top, it flies for like 15 minutes, which is fantastic. It's more than I thought it would, honestly. Parachute needed to be bigger. It doesn't deflate very fast. I had to move the parachute deflation lines here to actually attach to the parachute Velcro itself, so I wasn't pulling too far on this because that didn't actually release them, which was annoying. But yeah, all of this whole project has just been a massive win for guessing and checking, and it works, and I'm pretty happy with it. So thank you for watching. I know it's a weird one. I know it's probably a long one, but if you are a fellow model aviation enthusiast, you will also see this eventually in the focal point section of model aviation. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. See you next time, I guess.